Welcome to another explainer. Look, I know exactly why you're here. You want clear, no nonsense, evidence based answers to the questions that actually impact your everyday health. And today, well, we are tackling a massive topic that is honestly filled with a lot of tension and confusion right now. We're talking about the fear of natural sugars in fruits. Specifically, we're putting the spotlight on the beloved summer peach. For a lot of folks, especially anyone managing their blood glucose or living with diabetes, this sweet, juicy treat has somehow slowly morphed into something to strictly avoid. But we have to ask, does the science actually back up that fear? So are peaches a food to fear? It's a super relatable concern, right? If you're keeping an eye on your blood sugar, you've probably stared down a piece of fruit and thought, is the sugar in there going to send me on a metabolic roller coaster? Because let's be real, since peaches contain natural sugars, they just get casually lumped into this giant scary bucket of carbs to avoid. But today, we're going to let the data do the talking. We're going to see if whole peaches are truly dangerous, or if just maybe, we fundamentally misunderstood how our bodies actually process natural foods.
Part 1. Inside a whole peach.
Okay, just take a second to look at the ratio of these numbers. Yes, if you look closely there, a medium peach absolutely does contain about 13 grams of natural sugar. But here's the real kicker. It's beautifully packaged alongside 2 grams of fiber, and the entire fruit only costs you about 60 calories. Plus, you're getting a gram of protein and practically zero fat. So it's not just some condensed block of sugar, it's this incredibly nutrient-dense food loaded with water, vitamin C, potassium, and all these amazing protective plant compounds. And that right there is exactly why those 2 grams of fiber are absolutely critical to the equation. The fiber in a peach, which is mostly stuff like pectin and cellulose, basically acts as a physical buffer in your body. It literally hits the brakes so those 13 grams of natural sugar can't just rapidly spike your bloodstream. Instead, that fiber slows down your digestion, drastically reduces that fast glucose absorption, feeds the good bacteria in your gut, and, best of all, keeps you feeling full and satisfied.
Part 2. Understanding the food matrix.
Now, once you wrap your head around this concept, I promise you it's going to completely shift how you view fruit sugar forever. You see, a peach is not merely a sugar delivery system, not at all. It's an incredibly complex biological structure known as the food matrix. Honestly, one of the biggest mistakes we make in nutrition is stripping a food down to just one single nutrient. Nature almost never packages things that way. A peach has fiber, water, tough plant cell walls, vitamins, polyphenols, and they're all interacting together. The actual physical structure of this matrix directly dictates how your body digests, absorbs, and ultimately responds to the food. Let's actually walk through the exact step-by-step of what happens when you eat a whole peach. It perfectly proves how this natural packaging completely changes your metabolic response compared to eating processed sugar. Step 1, you physically have to chew the thing, right? Which inherently slows down how fast you're eating. Step 2, the fiber and those sturdy plant cell walls create a slow release mechanism in your stomach. Step 3, all that natural water adds volume, triggering signals that you're getting full. And finally, step 4, because of all those built-in speed bumps, the sugars trickle into your bloodstream gradually, rather than slamming you in one massive, overwhelming wave. Part 3, whole fruit versus processed. This is where things get really fascinating. Look at the stark contrast between the whole food and its processed counterpart. When you juice a peach, you are quite literally destroying the food matrix. You're stripping away the fiber, you're removing the chewing resistance, and what are you left with? Basically, a concentrated liquid sugar that triggers super fast absorption. I mean, think about it for a second. You can easily chug the sugar of 3 or 4 peaches in a single glass of juice, way faster than you could ever comfortably sit there and eat 3 or 4 whole fibrous peaches. And this physical difference, it translates directly to something called glycemic load. If you're not familiar, glycemic load looks at both how quickly a food spikes your blood glucose and how much carbohydrate is actually in a normal portion. A whole peach gets a profoundly low score of just 5. That is fantastic. But look at peach juice. Bam! It jumps up to between 15 and 25. And if you grab a slice of peach cobbler, which dumps refined flour and processed sugars into the mix, you're skyrocketing to 40 or more. The whole peach is vastly safer for your blood sugar than the spikes you get from juice or dessert. The issue isn't the presence of sugar, it's the structure of the whole food.
Part 4. The scientific evidence.
Get this, 26%. In a massive 2013 study published in the British Medical Journal, which, by the way, followed over 187,000 adults for up to 24 years, researchers found that eating certain whole fruits actually lowered the risk of developing type 2 diabetes by up to 26%. Blueberries saw a 26% drop. Grapes and apples showed significant drops too. But here's the crazy part. In that exact same study, drinking fruit juice actually increased the risk of developing diabetes. It's the exact same natural sugars, but a completely different metabolic outcome. Why? Because of the food matrix. And it gets better. That same study revealed something incredibly actionable for us. When the researchers zoomed in on the data for stone fruits, so your peaches, plums, apricots, they found that simply swapping out your daily fruit juice for a whole stone fruit reduced the risk of developing type 2 diabetes by about 11%. The takeaway here is crystal clear. Whole fruit and fruit juice are absolutely not metabolically equivalent foods. Not even close. Now check out this staggering number, 52%. That is a 52% lower risk of developing diabetic retinopathy, which is a really serious eye complication for people with high whole fruit intake. This comes from a Japanese study that followed nearly 1,000 adults with type 2 diabetes over 8 solid years. The folks eating about 2 servings of fruit daily literally cut their risk of this specific complication in half, compared to those eating the least fruit. Again, all the data points to whole fruits actively supporting your metabolic health, not destroying it.
Part 5. How to enjoy peaches.
So, how do we actually put this into practice? Eating a peach safely is incredibly simple. If you have diabetes or you're just keeping an eye on your blood glucose, start with portion size. 1 medium peach is a great standard serving. Next, use the power of food pairing. Combine your peach with a handful of nuts, some chia seeds, or maybe a healthy fat like soy yogurt. Adding that extra protein and fat on top of the peach's natural fiber slows your digestion down even further, really smoothing out any potential glucose spikes. And of course, always monitor your individual response because, hey, we all process carbs slightly differently. When you're out grocery shopping, your main goal is simple: protect that food matrix. Garden fresh, locally grown peaches picked right at peak ripeness, that is the gold standard. But if you can't get fresh, grab frozen peaches with zero added sugar or canned peaches packed purely in water. What you absolutely must limit or avoid entirely are the highly processed versions. I'm talking about the peaches swimming in heavy syrup, heavily reduced jams, those little gummy fruit snacks, and cobblers. Because the more processed the peach gets, the further away it moves from its protective, natural matrix. I really want to leave you with this final powerful thought to chew on as we wrap up this explainer. The problem was never the peach. The problem was what we turned the peach into. Think about it. Nature packaged this fruit perfectly. It gave us the exact amount of fiber and water we need to safely handle its natural sweetness and absorb its vital nutrients. So, armed with what you know now about the incredible food matrix, will you rethink how you view whole foods moving forward?